And this is a monumental time. This is going to be a shift that's forever going to change how we do things.
If we're always thinking about our problems, if we're always thinking about regret, our past, things that are, by the way, holding us down, and we're not thinking about what we need to do on a day-to-day basis to catapult our success, to get us to the next level of what we want out of this life. In business, if that's success, what I preach a lot is world-class success. And I don't mean financial, I mean being great in the most important aspects of your life.
You've got to be very intentional in controlling your thinking by controlling what you're going to do before you walk into doing it.
So right now, more than ever, during these next 2 months, these next 30 days, these next 3 months, however long this is going to take to boil over, now more than ever, put an action plan, I think, for your business and what you can do to get out of this and exponentially explode as soon as this thing is over.
Dude, right now we are on lockdown. So typically we do what we call the Success Podcast. And it's the podcast that, in our opinion, entrepreneurs, business people, and individuals around the world can come to, and they can learn about what it takes to be successful. And I love doing these things with you because you've got a tremendous track record of success already. I mean, you came out of life. I just picture you being born and you just, okay, let's go, baby, and making things happen, man. So Alex, how are you doing on quarantine, man?
Man, it's tough. I think everybody out there is, experiencing it in their own way, especially, used to being out of the house and working elsewhere other than home. It feels different. It's a better word. Being at home, on lockdown, grocery stores. I mean, with everything that's going on, it just feels like a war zone almost.
It is. It's kind of weird, man. It's super weird being. I'm used to. I kind of went digital like a year and a half ago. I've got a studio and I've worked online for a long time, but it's still super weird. Like, man, Nobody's going anywhere.
Yeah,
crazy. Because we were supposed to meet up, and I was like, man, I don't know if that's a good idea. No offense, right? But yeah, because I mean, so basically, what we're going to cover today is we're going to talk about, in my opinion, this is a monumental time. This is a time in history. We're going to look back on this time with the COVID-19, the coronavirus, the quarantine, everything. This is going to be a shift that's forever going to change how we do things. Kind of like how September 11th shifted, and now we've got TSA protocols, and there's a lot of things that changed because of that. I think it's going to be that impactful. And we're going to kind of talk about today is, what does it look like? Is it all bad? What can we pull? What are the silver linings? What can we do out of this moment? And then how can we apply it to our personal success?
Yep.
What are your thoughts on kind of what we're going to cover today?
Well, I guess if you're watching this, I believe that, we're not here just to talk. And I'm sure Will believes that, you're not here just to listen. I believe that this conversation is maybe for a reason. Being certain in the most uncertain times, I think, can be the most impactful thing that you can do right now in your life. And if you can continue to keep your sword sharp by the content and things and also people online that you surround yourself with on a day-to-day basis, you will be much more prepared than the man or woman that's out there that is not on a day-to-day basis pursuing and in the pursuit of greatness, that's trying to do their own thing.
Amen. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it really is, if you study history, and I'm an amateur on it, by the way, but if you study history, there's always tough times. And there's the great saying that tough times never last, but tough people do. Yeah. And in every great movie that you watch, so if you're not a history person and you watch movies, in every great movie, the hero of the movie goes through adversity. They go through some type of struggle that it almost seems insurmountable, right? It doesn't matter what movie it is. One of my favorites of all time is Braveheart with Mel Gibson, just because freedom, right? I love that part of the movie, but it's the story of a guy that feels oppressed. The government, the people in power are taking power. They're doing stuff, and he rallies everybody around him. He looks around and he goes, "You know what? This is not right. We're gonna stand up. We're gonna fight this for our freedom." And in my opinion, now is that time. It's like crystal clear for you and whoever's watching this to stand up whatever you believe in, whatever you want to go out there and lead, be the shining light in the darkness, man. But let's walk through some strategies, some things that we can do, some mentality. You're one of my favorite people on the mentality. What do I need to be thinking about right now?
Dude, so 5 things that I wrote down from a slide, and this is impactful. I mean, I'm so serious when I say this, but it's 5 things that I think that you need to be doing right now in this time during this crisis. First being is, listen, forget about yourself and focus on others. Forget about the sale and focus on creating value for your customer. Forget about your losses and focus on opportunity. Forget about who you were and focus on who you can be. Forget about what's missing and focus on what's available. What a great time to hear those 5 things, especially during Corona.
Yeah, man, we're going to get deeper into each of those, but in my opinion, so let's talk to the business owners and entrepreneurs first. If capitalism shuts down, which is where we're at right now, over 3.2 million people applied for unemployment last week. That's wow. So, and if my math is correct on this, we've got 329 million Americans. This is the year of the census. Those numbers will be updated. But if there's 329 million people in America and 3.2 million applied for it, that's 10%, right? I mean,
1%.
Is that 1%? That's why I need Alex around, baby. So 1%, yeah, 1%. That's what I meant. 1% of the population has applied for unemployment. And what happens when 3.2 million people aren't making money? Well, that means 3.2 million people aren't spending money. So the daisy chain of effects means that next week, the numbers are probably going to be as bad. And here's what's really crazy to me. 3.2 million people applying for unemployment is 5 times more than what was the previous record of 695,000 people. So it's going to get a little rocky. It's going to get a little shaky. So now more than ever, you need strategies and tactics and tips like you just covered right there, those 5 things, and we'll get deep into them in just a sec. But it's going to get a little rocky. It's going to get a little bit worse on this. And so, in my opinion, the heroes of the movie need to step up right now. This is your time to shine. And Alex, how would you recommend somebody act in moments like this?
So thank you. Yeah, great question. And I would say I'm extremely interested in emotional intelligence, but I'm even more interested in emotional fitness. And I think that this ties in perfectly with what we were talking about, because when you can relate the problems that you're facing right now with problems and obstacles that you faced in your life 15 and 20 years ago, like you can start to pull and build those calluses in your mind. And that's so important, especially in life and business, because listen, no matter what success you see, whether you're at a place where you're at 9 or 10 figures, or you're just getting started and you're at 5 and 6 figures, you will always face adversity in either spectrum. Adversity and problems never go away. Just like what you were saying earlier, tough times, a lot of stuff people do. Same thing right now. I mean, you need to go with inside of yourself, I feel like, and pull out all the stuff, all the guilt, and I don't want to say anything like cuss or anything, but shit that you faced in your life in adversity over the last 10, 15, and 25 years, and pull from that and focus on what you need to be doing on a day-to-day basis today, tomorrow, this month, and while we're going through this crisis, and never lose sight of that end goal. Like in real estate, like I've shared with you in the past on our previous podcast, the most financially successful real estate people, they start with the end in mind. They know where they're going to sell their property when they buy their property. And that takes a certain type of mental fortitude and mental toughness, and more importantly, a mental clarity that you need to have for your life, your mission, your purpose, and your vision. So that's important, I feel like.
Amen. Absolutely. And so, man, on that point, I think what everybody's realizing right now is there's a lot of uncertainty into the world. We don't know what the future holds. A lot of people want it to go back to the way it used to be, which is a basic human nature. We live in the past a lot. I want it to go back the way things were. When are we going to get done with this? Can we just end this now? Which is a natural feeling. The problem is it's never going to go back to the way it was before. It's going to be forever changed. And number 2 is uncertainty has always been there. You just have never been this aware of uncertainty. And I went on a walk. So since I'm home, right? I mean, I'm always home, but since we're all home, my kids and I, my wife, we go on a walk and we go and do fun stuff. And so we were on this nature walk, right? And we were looking around at all these birds in the trees. You know, it was in the morning, and they were like, you know, tweeting. That's Twitter. What are the birds? They're singing, right? Birds are singing. They tweet, right? I don't know. So the birds were firing off on their Twitter. You know, they were ranting about the dogs and stuff. But no, so nature was nature. They don't know the coronavirus is going on. The birds don't know. The deer's running around. They don't care. The trees don't care. And if you think about it, with all the technology and the live stream and all the cool stuff we're doing, the lights, the TV, oh man, it looks like we're super sophisticated, but we're still a part of nature. And in times like this, we've got to get grounded back into what our roots are. We're in nature too. And whether it's the coronavirus, whether it's a car wreck, no matter what it is, it's always uncertain. You never know if you've got another day. Let's be real. We've all had people around us that have passed away way too soon. You don't know what it's going to be. It's always been uncertain. If you're an entrepreneur, it's always uncertain. Are you going to close the deal? Are you going to get the business done? It's always been uncertain. But now the entire world is collectively focused on this thing, and we're all aware of the uncertainty. So how do you proceed? How do you move forward in times like this? Well, you proceed as you normally would, but you double down on all the principles that serve you well. Principles I love because they don't care who you are, how white you are, how black you are, how educated or uneducated you are. They don't care where you're from, the left side of the tracks, the right side of the tracks. It doesn't matter. Principles serve you throughout time. And one of those principles, Alex, that you talked about is don't think about yourself, think about the value that you can give to people. So will you talk a little bit about delivering value and what that looks like for people?
I think that with most business people, especially, you know, we're money hungry. We lose sight of the importance of how important that your client is, your customer is, and you lose sight in the sale and the desire and the hunger for a sale. And for a lot of people, long term, that bites you in the butt. And so now more than ever, I think that as opposed to just creating some course, which is important, as opposed to just creating some online platform, as opposed to just some PDF, just some PowerPoint that you can sell to someone, like, don't focus on the sale, focus on how much value, this is important, how much value you can bring to your audience and other people. And now more than ever, I would recommend creating a raving a fan base and an audience around what your craft is. And I think that most people, even including myself, out there are maybe not as fully immersed in being as authentic as they can be to themselves on social media for their platforms and for other people to see. I think it's very easy for us to get lost in a one-on-one conversation, whether that's with you and I, Will, or people that we meet out there prior to Corona, in explaining them our vision for our lives, our business, our purpose, our light work that we're here. But I think that the most financially successful people, the people that we follow, Will, the people out there that are listening right now are following, and whoever those people are the most evangelical people out there about their purpose, their mission, and their life. And it's so beautiful because those people, those legends, the people that we plan to be, listen, like, they're who they are to the core of themselves, and they're not anybody else. They're the most ultimate version of themselves, and that's why they are who they are. And so when you can get that way about your life, when you can get that way about your business and become so evangelical about how you feel and what your business and mission and purpose is to do, and you can share that with thousands and thousands of people, and people see that you're authentic and you're actually personable, I think that people, they like that and they follow that. And so right now, more than ever, during these next 2 months, these next 30 days, these next 3 months, however long this is going to take to boil over, now more than ever, put an action plan, I think, for your business and what you can do to get out of this and exponentially explode as soon as this thing is over.
Absolutely. Dude, well said. Very well said. And that's exactly what you've got to do. And I believe now more than ever, it's getting down to the things that have served well in business all time. You know, there's all these great books behind me, and what works now is what worked when they wrote the books and what those people learned from the people, you know, on and all the way back. And so one of the first things I believe everybody should do is start building those relationships and driving them deep. Build the depth of those relationships. What that allows you to do is to get out of your mind and about your situation and the pressures and the anxieties and the fears and the emotions that you feel in uncertain times and scary times. And it helps you go take care of them. And Zig Ziglar told us this long ago. If you want to hit your goals, if you want to solve your problems, you got to go out and solve other people's problems. And that's the basis of capitalism, right? And so it's really, you can do one thing, you can knock down one big domino, and many other things in your life can come of that. And that is going out there and working on those relationships, checking in on people. Hey, how are you doing?
Yep.
Not with the intention of business, not with the intention of selling them something or whatever, business you're in, with the intention of serving, with the intention of helping them and asking them what you can do and how you can help them, all that kind of stuff. You really got to stop focusing on yourself and start focusing on others. So that's one of my big beliefs of right now. But of those 5, what are some other ones that stand out to you? And let's drive deep on one of them.
2 of them. So forget about your losses. Focus on opportunity. Forget about what's missing and focus on what's available. And right now, physical contact, one-on-one, driving to go meet someone, prospects or whatever it is unavailable. And what's available right now is online more than ever. So, I mean, if you haven't, I guess, taken the time to, find out what you're going to preach online, then for the next 7 days, write down on a piece of paper, what do you want your social media platform to do for you in the next 12 months? What do you want out of your life, maybe in the next 12 months? And then reverse engineer the whole thing. Say, what do I need to do on a day-to-day basis in order to make all those dreams happen?
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to that, so talking about social media and planning the goals and going through all that, it really comes back to what you said, that word authentic. I think that all too often, and I'm guilty of this too, of trying to be perfect, of trying to be the person that you want to be, but not being the person that you are most of the time. I always call it my ideal self. There's my ideal self. That's if I'm the guy that implements all of the stuff I read in the books, like every second of the day, then I'm my ideal self. But that happens like 0% of the time, right? So
yeah.
It's just being real. Like there was so David Ogilvy is one of the greatest advertisers of all time, greatest marketers of all time. Frank Kern is one of the greatest digital marketers of all time. He's one of the godfathers of internet marketing, which if y'all aren't aware of that now, y'all need to get on the train. One of the platforms that I use for digital marketing had a 30% increase whenever the coronavirus hit. People are going digital. You need to get in front of that trend. And it's a trend. We're not going backwards. It's going to progress. And by the way, this is totally off subject, but kind of on subject. So artificial intelligence is, like when robots and stuff, artificial intelligence, a lot of people have been against that. Have been against, hey, they're going to take my job, right? That's the South Park. They took our jobs. Well, artificial intelligence, think about this. Think about the healthcare workers on the front line of the medical stuff. What if a robot could help these people, that the diagnosis, and like walk them through that process, like just like a breathalyzer, right? This is totally like sci-fi stuff, but like a breathalyzer, like when you can test blood alcohol content. What if there was a robot that could collect samples and test for coronavirus, and you don't have to expose a human being, a nurse, a doctor, to that stuff? Like, so I promise you, you're gonna start to see some trends and shifts of things happening for the better out of this. And people are going to be changed for this forever. But one of the shifts that you've got to make is you got to get your online presence out there, and you've got to be authentic, which is who you really are. So getting back to David Ogilvy and Frank Kern, I'll pass it back to you. So those 2 guys are some of the best ever in marketing of all time. Ogilvy's company is still around. David Ogilvy passed away a long time ago. By the way, if you want to look up one of his greatest advertisements of all time, Google the Man in the Hathaway shirt and read that story. It was incredible. He sold out. Sold out. If you're in business, is the best thing you could ever hear. Sold out. So David Ogilvy passed away, but his company is still around. They're one of the top advertising and marketing companies in the world. They did a training where they took snapshots of all of these social media influencers, and they said, can you tell the difference? Can you spot the difference? And I've been in marketing for a while. I couldn't tell the difference. Like, they all looked exactly the same. That's the problem when you try to be like everybody else. But if you're authentic, if you build relationships with your people, one, people can't be taken from you. Another company can't come along and steal your customers because of the relationship that you built. Number 2, when a company does a buyout and buys another company, Apple does it all the time. Who was it? Oh my gosh. I think Google bought Skype, Google bought somebody. And Google had the platform to do it. They didn't buy it because the other company had technology and Google couldn't do it. Google bought it for their email list. They bought it for their relationships. And so relationships are the most valuable thing in your life and in your business. And this is the time to double down on that, get really good at that, but also be authentic online.
I love it, dude. I love it. Just to share also some added value to that, everything that you said was fantastic, and I totally agree. And just to add on top of all this, I think that we all have two voices in our head. This is important. I love this stuff. It's the voice that says that we can do something and the voice that says that we can't do something. And I think that when we start to go with inside of ourselves and look at how do I think, how often, and what am I thinking about, you can actually measure that over the course of 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, a week. And you'll notice that in your life, you have more of what you think about, negative or positive, good or bad. You have more in your life. If that's guilt, if that's regret, if that's abundance, if that's prosperity, if that's happiness, if that's God, if that's whatever it is for yourself. So ask yourself the question, like, how often are you thinking about your mission? How often are you thinking about your vision? How often are you thinking about building relationships with other people that are going to take you to the next level and get you to where you want to be in life? So I don't know if you've heard of like the 800-pound gorilla story with the flea. One of the most, ferocious, I guess, if that's the word to use, animals, I guess, right? The gorilla, super strong, super brute strength and incredible strength. But if he has a flea, for example, that's flying around his head all day, what is he thinking about all day? He's thinking about that flea. Same thing with your problems in life. If we're always thinking about our problems, if we're always thinking about regret, our past, things that are, by the way, holding us down, and we're not thinking about what we need to do on a day-to-day basis to catapult our success, to get us to the next level of what we want out of this life. In business, if that's success, what I preach a lot is world-class success. And I don't mean financial, I mean being great in the most important aspects of your life and your version and whatever your version of success is for you, not me, but for you. Yeah. Being a great father, being a great leader, being a great philanthropist or a person that helps others, being a beacon for those for motivation and for the weak that can't maybe motivate themselves. So it's so important during these times to be motivated, but it's just as important to be inspired. And I think that when you can do both, and you're not just motivated and you're not just inspired, but you're both, the days that you're not inspired, you can pick yourself up by being motivated and get right back on that horse. And sometimes that is the difference between you doing it and not, is when you can have a goal that's so clear and a date that's attached to that goal, to where if you have a car, you're never going to run out of gas because you know exactly where you're going, and you're not just going to get burnt out 3, 5, 10 years from now and run out of fuel.
Yeah, dude, that's so good. And on that point of like controlling your thoughts, I believe now more than ever, I call it my GTFO principle. Okay. So you get in, you get out, you know what GTFO stands for. So like we're talking about media, social media, multimedia for television form, whatever you do, knowing what's going on in the world is important. But it's not more important than you controlling your mind. It's not more important than you controlling your thought process, right? It's not more important than you, man, I lost my Instagram. It's not more important than any of those other things. So it's you controlling your mindset, which is so vitally important, right? And what's crazy is now more than ever, people are stuck on social media. Like there's so many memes about, like I was intending to read some books this time, during this coronavirus, but I got stuck on Twitter for 6 hours, right? So I call it my GTFO principle. If there's, you have to be very intentional with your thought process. And how do you be very intentional with your thought process when you're talking about digital media, hopping on your phone? If I'm going to open up my phone, I think about my ideal self. I think about what I'm going to do when I open up the phone. Am I going to go check the weather? Like, hey, is it going to rain later? And then I'm not going to go open up my phone, forget what I'm going to do, then hop on Instagram. 2 hours later, I'm like, what the hell just happened? Right? So you've got to be very intentional in controlling your thinking by controlling what you're going to do before you walk into doing it. There's a study that was done, and it talks about the doorway. So like if I leave one room, I leave one room and I walk into another room, and I walk through a doorway. There's something about a doorway that kind of fries our brain, and it's really interesting. Where like you're like, I need to go get that thing in the other room, And then you walk through the house, you get to the room, and you're like, what was I doing here? Have you ever done that before? Or
Yeah.
am I the only one with dementia? I don't know. But so like there's this thing, and it's very similar when you open up your phone and you're going to do something, you can like get distracted. So the GTFO principle, whatever you're going to do on your phone, get in, get out. Don't waste too much time doing it. But it's more vital now than ever because you can waste so much time on media, whether it's Twitter or Instagram, whatever, downloading this information about the virus and how bad it is and how many, get informed, but get out. Because then it starts to occupy your mind and it overtakes everything you do. Because I don't know about you, Alex, but when I wrote down my 2020 goals, I see your goals behind you and I love it. When I wrote down my 2020 goals, I didn't put, I want to be the most informed and knowledgeable person and doctor about coronavirus in 2020. No, it's a pandemic. It's something that's affecting us all, but I don't need to be the expert in it. I'm going to know what I need to do, the precautions I need to take. I need to stay home. I need to wash my hands. I need to eat good foods. I need to stay hydrated. I need to build my immune system, take my supplements, all that stuff, which is what I should have been doing anyway. Then I'm going to focus on the goals that I still had. And I think that's, so whatever you're going to do, get in, then GTFO, get out.
Last thing for me, and then I've got to jump off here, and I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do just because I feel like it can help other people. But this was told to me probably now a year and a half ago, and that one statement that was told to me changed the course of my life forever. It's what kicked me out of not kicked me out, it's what made me quit my sales job that we were doing very well at. And it's basically this right here, is that what got me to 6 figures isn't what was going to get me to 7 figures. 7 figures needs a team. So for you out there right now listening, I would highly recommend looking into a virtual assistant, especially during these times. We're going to go interview a virtual assistant out of the Philippines, and she's an incredible lady. Super, super nice. Does Google Analytics, does everything spreadsheet, social media, and the hourly rate that she's charging is so well within everybody's budget that there's no reason that we all shouldn't have an assistant that helps us with things that we're not good at, because that's what was told to me. Like, if someone does something 80% as good as you, delegate it to someone else so that you can double down and focus on your strengths, because your strengths might not be video editing. Your strengths might not be holding a camera. Your strengths might not be putting advertisements on Facebook, but it might be being in front of the camera. It might be sales strategies, relationship building, like what Will was talking about. And so if you want to get to 8, 9, and even 7 figures to begin with, then you need to have a world-class dream team. You need to have a 7-figure, 8-figure, 9-figure dream team that can help explode you, that can help you do content, that can help you do social media, advertising, and all these things that we need to get now in this new age of the economy to get to 7, like I said, 8 and 9 figures.
Absolutely. Amen on that, man. This is a time now more than ever to pivot, get in front of this thing. Everybody's going digital. If you're not there, you're late to the party. What's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. The next best time is right now. So, dude, any closing thoughts as we wrap this thing up? Anything you want to leave with people?
Yeah, I mean, right now the content that you watch is extremely vital. So YouTube is either your biggest Achilles heel, or it's the most, I don't know, impactful thing that you could be doing on a day-to-day basis, because there's so much video and content out there and people that we follow that give you enough information to figure out what you need to do in your moment in life right now to get to, like I said, places where you want to go. So what you watch on YouTube is so important, I feel.
Amen. I'm going to double down on what you said. There's the great quote by our friend and mentor, Jim Rohn. He says, you are the average of the 5 people you hang around. And I would say that now more than ever, you are the 5 social media accounts that you interact with the most. You're the 5 YouTube videos that you watch the most. Like now more than ever. So what you put in your mind, you do become. Be very cognizant of that right now. You're watching Netflix. They got the Tiger documentary. Dude, what are you doing? Get out of here. So anyway, Alex, dude, I appreciate this, man. You take care, brother.
You too, man. Take care.
Awesome. Good talk, man. Bye.
All right. Bye.